how are you? I am Star Penn. I'm the creator and founder of the JIA Blueprint, where I help moms who are overwhelmed, confused, scared, and rightly so, over their children's juvenile arthritis diagnosis. I help you to regain your calm, your peace, your confidence. So that way, whether you're addressing your child's arthritis with or without meds, you have the way out, you have the roadmap. So that way you actually can heal your child and get them back on the road to health. With that said, if you're not already a subscriber to my channel, please do subscribe. So that way, when I make a new video, you will get notified. And by all means, please give a thumbs up to this video. If you like it, I hope this information is exactly what you needed to help you chart your path forward as far as nutrition and diet goes. Please give it a thumbs up. It helps the YouTube algorithm to know that this is important information and to make sure that it gets in front of other moms like you or dads. And by all means, leave a comment, reach out to me, share your story, and I will be sure to respond to you. So today I want to talk about the carnivore diet because it has gotten so much attention over the past few years with quite able people touting it as a solution to their own arthritis, and also where we're hearing all sorts of anecdotal evidence of people who are using the carnivore diet to reverse all sorts of autoimmune issues, neurological issues, hormonal issues. So this seems like this might be the holy grail. This might be what it was that we were looking for. I want to share with you why, unfortunately, there are no shortcuts. And I'll get to that. But in the end of the day, we, the moms, if we're dealing with our kids, or us, if it's our own body, we're going to have to heal the underlying root causes of what got us here, none of which are our fault, by the way, all external for the most part, environmental, external. The world that we live in is just progressively getting worse and worse, which I'm sure you agree. But the bottom line is there's not going to be something that we can just turn on, even if it works for some amount of time, and heal our body, whereas this won't ever come back. Let's go back to the touting of this diet, and even the people who say that this is absolutely cured their arthritis or something like that. They will tell you that how unsustainable it really is. And it's a question we have to ask ourselves as we're going down this road, as we're choosing what it is we're going to do for our children in order to heal them. Is this the life that we envision? Is this the life that we want them to live? So this diet being touted as far as being effective at keeping, I would say more keeping arthritis at bay, really does require that people only eat meat, salt, and water, and that's it. So on the one hand, right, we have arthritis symptoms seeming to not be a problem anymore. And then we have this extremely, extremely restrictive diet that is giving that result. The bottom line is, it is not possible. It is impossible to eat that for the rest of your life. And even the people who propagate this diet will tell you that they have to eat this way. If they eat anything else, their pain comes back. The symptoms come back. So is that really reversing the arthritis? And are we in the business, if you're here with me and you're like-minded with me, are you really in this to keep arthritis at bay? Because if you are, then we have medications for that. We also have the AIP diet. We also have vegan diets. It's interesting, right? How a vegan diet or like a raw diet would probably give a similar, although it's a completely opposite food, you'd get a similar kind of keeping the arthritis at bay, right? Because with the raw food diet, we're anti-inflammatory foods. AIP diet, anti-inflammatory. The carnivore, it's supposed to be starving out the bacteria that feed on sugar and things like that, therefore not feeding the beast and then having a less inflammatory condition in the body. Just a brief explanation, but is this how we want our child to live? is it sustainable? And what does it really mean if all we're doing is keeping the arthritis at bay? This isn't coming from me. The very people who perpetuate the idea of this diet and say that it's saved them, and I do believe in so many ways it does, they can't come off of it even for a second. So is it healing the body? And is that what we want to do? So what we do inside the blueprint is very different. As you know, if you follow me at all, you know that we are not about anti-inflammatory. We're not about leaky gut in and of itself. All of these are symptoms of a much bigger issue. And really what we need to do is we need to peel back the layers, and we need to heal the body from the bottom up. And that takes time. It really takes time. And so we're busy. And we're busy. And do we really have, time to learn all this and do all this on our own? Right? So it's tempting. It's tempting, getting off subject a little, but it's tempting to go to the functional and run tests and them tell us what supplements to take. That's tempting. It's tempting to say, I'm just going to do carnivore, especially when we start to see some results from these things. I'm going to do carnivore, and because then we can go about our life and go about our day. I call it kicking the can because, we might get a little bit of temporary relief now, but what are we giving our child? What are we going to hand our child down the road when they're an adult and now we're handing them the keys to their health and it's up to them to take care of it? Are we giving them something better than what we had to deal with, or are we giving them something much worse? And that's really what us moms want to avoid. What we want to do, and the reason why you're here right now, and the reason why you even follow me, is because you want your child to thrive. You want them to go off and be able to live their life and to do all the things that they ever imagined that they wanted to do, all the dreams you have for them, all the dreams they have for themselves. You want them to be able to do these things. You want them to live a normal life. Whatever that is for you, but normal meaning that they're not needing to do anything really extra or hard for the rest of their life in order to just live, right? We want to heal them so they can go about their life. And that's what we talk about when we do here. And so that's my small pet peeve about the carnivore diet. It's not small because when we kick the can down the road, we inevitably just we might be putting off the arthritis, but in the meantime, what's taking place in the underbelly of things are other autoimmune issues starting to develop. And so what you'll never be told at a doctor's office, maybe not even at a functional doctor's office, and maybe you wouldn't even think it, but that when your child with JIA in however many years develops another autoimmune disease that would require another specialist, you're not going to be told it's we kind of just kicked the can with this. We kind of just, suppressed the immune system, or we kind of just, did this anti-inflammatory diet. And meanwhile, we never healed the root issue. So we've allowed a situation for other autoimmune diseases to develop. No one's going to tell you that, but that's what's happening. So we know that. And that's why we do the work now. That is a big deal. But that is really my small complaint about the carnivore diet. I have an even bigger one, an even more serious one. And I hope that by sharing it with you, it really helps you to rethink going down this road and really rethink getting some assistance and help with someone like myself or another coach that can guide you on a regular basis to the health that you're looking for. Because really, these are things that are very difficult to do on our own. And, that's why people like us exist in the world, because it's our desire, our passion to help other people to get the same healing that we got. Now, now I want to get into my big problem. And I don't want to say this to scare you, but I want you to be very aware of what happens down the road with the carnivore diet. We already talked about the fact that it's only dealing with the surface. It's not healing the gut. It's not rebuilding the microbiome. It's not helping you with your detox pathways. It's not modulating your child's immune system. So it's not affecting any of the turned on markers in the immune system. See, this is where so many professionals go wrong. They're laser focused on one aspect of it. But what good is sealing and healing the gut if the immune system's still turned on? It's still looking for something, right? We need to heal on so many levels. And that does require patience on your part. It requires knowledge and understanding, and it requires guidance and assistance, because it's like, well, when do I do this? When do I do that? They're doing this. How do I respond to that? This is a huge endeavor that you have before you. It's huge. And don't get me wrong. I know how huge it was. I was there. Okay. So all that to say, I want you to think about how wise the body is. So wise. And so what our children's bodies have become accustomed to is consuming easy carbs, right? Easy carbs for the yeast and bacteria in the body, the pathogens in the body. That's its preferred fuel source. So likely your child loves these foods, things that have dyes, things that have sugar, things that are, very processed breads and crackers and things like that. Their bodies love these things because that's the dominant bacteria in the body. They have about a 24-hour to 72-hour life cycle. They need their stuff, okay? Then we switch over to all meat, salt, and water. And we start to starve out this pathogenic bacteria, right? So now they start to die off a little bit and they become less dominant, but they never quite ever go away because they're part of the ecosystem in the body. So yeast is part of the ecosystem. Parasites, believe it or not, are part of the ecosystem. All the different pathogens and everything everything has its place, And what we want the good bacteria to be the dominant force in our child's body. But what happens when we switch to a carnivore diet and we're just having the meat and we're just having the water and the salt, and we did not fix any of the underlying issues? Let's just say the leaky gut never got fixed. Well, then we still have undigested food particles floating in the bloodstream, which eventually is going to get the immune system's attention. Remember the immune system that we never dealt with by eating a carnivore diet? It's eventually going to go after that. Okay, that's number one. Number two, we never rebuilt the internal lining of the gut wall and the stomach lining. So not only did we not rebuild the internal wall, the villi and all of that, which is responsible for food digestion, and that's the key there, but we also did not repopulate. We tend to think if we pop a probiotic in our mouth, that's just a small little, that we can maybe help seed the situation by popping a probiotic every day, but that is not going to repopulate our guts by any stretch of the imagination. So when all we're doing is eating this meat and things like that, the bacteria in our body and the yeast start to adapt. And what we end up having in our body instead of fast sugars are undigested proteins. And if you're anything like me or your kids are anything like mine, we eat too fast. Even if we're chewing our food until it's mush in our mouth, which would be ideal for digestion, which none of us are, we still would have these undigested proteins because of the imbalance in the gut. So the acidity inside of the gut, the enzymes aren't present in the gut. And so we're eating the protein and it's going out in one end and out the other, but it's not properly getting digested. And what ends up happening is the yeast adjusts and it starts to realize I can eat off of that. It gets fermented in the body, kind of putrefied, and that becomes food for the yeast and pathogens in the body. Why is that a problem? Well, remember, we already put ourselves in a situation where we can't eat anything but meat, salt, and water. That's it. Anything else triggers an immune response, because remember, we never dealt with the immune system. anything else triggers an immune response. And eventually, those things are going to trigger an immune response too. But let's just go with that. And now the yeast have chosen it as its food, and the yeast start to rise. I want you to visualize what do yeasts do? Well, they crowd out the gut, the internal lining of the gut wall. So even if there was a reprieve for the villi in the gut lining to start growing back, well, they're getting taken over again by the yeast. And the yeast, what is the structure of yeast? Well, the way yeast takes over and invades is it has corkscrew design to it. It has like a corkscrew, the way it latches onto things in the body. So what ends up happening is the yeast starts taking over again, creating more holes in the gut lining. So now more food particles are getting out into the body. One, like I said, creating an immune response from the body. And this immune response might not take place in another joint. So maybe we wouldn't even connect the two. Maybe it won't be the knee or the finger. Maybe it won't be behind the eye. Maybe it won't be the common JIA uveitis combo. Could be in another organ. And it could be seeming like a complete, and it would be, a completely different autoimmune issue. So we're not even connecting that we never fix the problem. This is just the problem exasperating itself, just continuing to go on in the body. But we thought we had it handled because the carnivore diet calmed down the inflammation. So you see what I mean when I say we're just kicking the can by trying to do a diet, trying to do a supplement, trying to run tests. Like we're not tackling it the way that we're supposed to be, the way that we need to be if we want to reverse it. Okay, but here's the big problem. And I don't know if you've already caught on to it, but now we are in a situation where the body is attacking the meat proteins, the only foods that your child could tolerate. And I want that to sink in. This is where the carnivore diet leaves you. And I'm not saying this because I want to scare you, but this diet is getting so much, it's so popular, and so many people are doing versions of it. And this is where it leads. You end up in a situation where first you were in a situation where all your child could eat was meat, that's bleak enough. That's bleak enough. Now, there's nothing. There's nothing your child can eat. They have joint pain and who knows whatever else. And these things don't limit themselves to autoimmune diseases. They can be neurological, behavioral, hormonal. All these things just start to get completely off balance because the immune system, remember, never got turned off, right? And so we are in a really, really bad situation where I would almost say we're in an FPIES situation, which I can do a video on that at another time, where it's a scary place to be. And I say that because I see so many well-meaning people do this with their children because nothing else has worked. Nothing else has worked. So let me share with you what to do instead. And as I always preface, I can't tell you exactly in what order these things will have to happen for you, not on this video. I can't tell you for how long you need to do something, or what happens if your child doesn't respond well to this, and what do we do instead? And because, like I say in the blueprint, it's a dance. We're doing a dance. And we have to do the dance with your child's body and in live time and responding to the way it wants to heal. But ultimately, what we're doing is different. It's different than what the functional doctor is saying and what the naturopath is saying, what the medical doctor is saying. We are rebuilding the body from the bottom up. We're not throwing supplements at it. We are not blanketing it with a diet. Although food obviously is involved, we're not blanketing it with a diet. We need foods that are going to rebuild the body, not stop inflammation. that is just a temporary fix. So that's why I talk about the 3-pronged approach that we use in the blueprint. The first prong, I call it the SURE method. We seal, heal, eliminate, rebuild. It's a lot of work we need to do in the gut. This is much more than taking a collagen supplement or glutamine, or a lot of people start drinking meat stock, which I am a proponent of. But it is more than that. Meat stock is what we drink to seal the gut lining. But the gut lining is in such a delicate, and it's in such a delicate state right now. Not only is it raw and damaged, but it's also full of yeast, biofilms with who knows what living under there. And so the villi that live on the inside of the gut lining have been completely mashed down, like they're suffocated and dead. So we don't just drink meat stock thinking, no, that's going to seal the gut. We got to really understand all that really needs to be repaired and taken care of. So it's not just a matter of drinking stock, seal the gut. Drinking stock is going to help a lot of things. It's going to help to bring down the yeast. And hopefully we're doing this before we get to the other end of the carnivore diet, where doing this would be so much harder, so much harder. We'd be so much more limited. Well, it would be unbelievable what we would have to do if we ran this carnivore diet to its end and the body started to eat the undigested protein. We would be in a very bad situation. And that's where this leads. So much better to start really realizing that no one's going to heal my child but me. And I got to do it. And if you want help to do it, let me know. But that's what it's going to take. It's going to take a day-to-day approach, and you're going to have to be the one to do it. Everything else is a Band-Aid. Everything else is a temporary fix, or the disease slips and becomes another autoimmune or neurological thing and never gets dealt with. So we're sealing and healing the gut. We're avoiding, raw foods, and think of anything raw vegetables, let's say. There's like sandpaper on an open wound. We would avoid at the beginning, we'd avoid certain fruits, most fruits, if not all, for a time being, because they're feeding the yeast and bacteria. So things like that. In addition to that, we need to rebalance the microbiome, and we need to rebuild it. So what we do with that is we, eat lots of healthy fats. We're much more focused on the healthy fats. The muscle meat is there, but the emphasis on the muscle meat does not heal the body. It does not heal. We're much more interested in the connective tissue, the like heals like, very homeopathic, what like heals like. We want that connective tissue. We want those little nodules on the chicken leg. Like those are the things that we want to rebuild the gut. But since our child's bodies can't absorb any nutrients, remember the villi mashed down, what are we going to do? You can't throw supplements at this, and so we rely on other things like nice, healthy animal fats, things like the yolks that come from eggs, things that the body can just assimilate. And this is what makes this so different than most functional or naturopathic approaches, is that it's not a matter of what pill, what supplement, what tincture, what drops I can give you. It's a matter of how do we give the body what it needs to heal itself so we don't need these things. And this is a proven strategy, what we do inside the blueprint. It does take time. I work with my clients on a lifetime access basis because it does take time. And there's no limit to the amount of time I'm going to devote to getting you to the end of the road. It doesn't take a lifetime, but that's how long your access is, because it does take time, because we're allowing the body to heal itself and peel back those layers and get to those deepest layers. And we're rebuilding the body from the bottom up. So, we talk continuing in on the SURE method, and we talk about rebuilding, and, we need to really, also the fats and everything, they're going to help too. The yeast, the parasites and things like that, they don't convert to eating fat. They do with the protein, with the muscle meat, but they don't with the fat. So that's why we're high fat. We eat fermented foods because we really need to start to rebuild and repopulate the gut. Think about if you're, planting green leaves in a rainforest and all that. And all of this takes time. You can't go so fast. We got to really be listening and working together with the body. So that is why I am a huge proponent of going about healing this way and not focusing on any one diet, because in this way we're guaranteed success because the body knows what it needs to do. The body knows how to be healthy. And once we give it all the tools that it needs to be healthy, it will. It's just what the body does. That's why I can guarantee that what we do is going to work for you and you and you and you, because it's not me. It's the way the body's made, and we're simply giving it the tools to rebuild. And so along with the SURE method that I've coined, and along with eating, certain foods that are going to nourish the body, because supplements just are not doing it at this stage of the game for our child's health, we also need to focus on detox. And again, there's lots of detoxes out there, tinctures and things like that. Oh, I'm doing a liver detox or this or that. That's not what we do inside the blueprint. Again, we're using very natural methods. We're responding. The blueprint is for children. So these are detox methods that are not just safe and effective for children, but you're also getting the guidance that you need on how much, how often. And although I don't know how much detox you're doing, as a rule of thumb, you're likely not doing near enough detox. And that's for another video. As getting deep into the detox, this really is more for you to see what we don't want to do, which is the carnivore diet, and what we want to do instead. So we don't want to do the carnivore diet. We don't want to we don't want to have an anti-inflammatory diet. We want to do a healing protocol. So it's not just a diet. We need to completely rebuild. We need to detox, and we need to get the immune system from being in that triggered on state. And the way that we do that, there are some prescription ways that our in-house doctor uses with some people. But really getting the immune system in its controlled state has a lot to do with our cortisol levels and getting the body into a calm and relaxed state. The vast majority of us today are in a fight or flight type mode. And so we do implement and we do talk a lot and share a lot about ways to manage our nervous system and stress. And believe it or not, our kids have it. So certain calming techniques and practices like EFT I recommend, and other vagal nerve exercises that you can find online, as well as meditation, play therapy, journaling, some art therapy, things like that we implement in the blueprint to not just we have to get ourselves out of fight or flight, but we also need to get our children out of fight or flight, because it's like the vicious cycle. I talk about fight or flight last, but if we're in fight or flight, we can't rebuild our gut, because high cortisol means low gut bacteria. So we're working all these things not in a specific order, but one is going to affect the other and the other and the other. And that's another huge missing component in most approaches to JIA. This emotional part is completely ignored. And it's another reason why we don't get the healing that we're looking for, and why we incorporate it in the JIA Blueprint. So I could go on, and I will in another video, but I do hope that this explanation about the carnivore diet gives you some food for thought, pun intended. Okay. And I look forward to seeing you on another video. If you have any questions for me, you can leave them in the video. You can send me an email at jiablueprint@gmail.com. You can also go to my website, which is jiablueprint.com. And if you would like to book a call or get on with me to see about enrolling in the program, I would be happy to do that. What we do is just to see if your family is a good fit or not, and have a nice little discussion. So I hope this information was helpful, and I will see you on the next video. Okay, guys, bye.